voice of Westchester, WVOX.
8:20 right on the button on Friday, September 5th, 2008. I'm Bob Marrone. This is Good Morning Westchester on 1460 WVOX and WVOX.com. 71 degrees under sunny skies. In the studio with us is the candidate for, well, it's a whole year from now, Dan Schorr. He's an attorney. He's running for the district attorney position now held by Janet DeFiore. We're going to talk with him in about 30 seconds. But he's not just here because he's running for office. He's a very, very interesting guy. In fact, I had a day off 2 weeks ago. He was here with my colleague and mentor, John Harper. And I see John that Monday. Oh, Bob, what an interesting guy. Taught in China. He used to read. Blah, blah, blah. So now I am getting my full of Dan Schorr, and so will you in about 30 seconds.
1460 WVOX.
I like that one. It's sort of sweet and melancholy. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Marrone. No, it's just you. It's not everybody. It's one-on-one. I have to remember that. Anyway, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for listening. If you're just getting up, 71 degrees, sunny. It'll be sunny all day, humid later, temperatures in the mid-80s. Hannah visits tonight. It's not a pretty girl. It's the tail end of a hurricane. In the studio, as I said, is Dan Schorr. Good morning, Mr. Schorr.
Good morning, Bob. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you, too. As I said, now, again, everybody knows it's like my Republican Day on Fridays, right? That you are running for the district attorney role 1 year from now.
That's right.
Against Janet DeFiore, a former Republican who flipped. A lot of that going on. Dan Lieberman almost did it himself. But there's more to you than just a pretty face, as the saying goes. Now, you were on, now you have tell us a little bit more about your background. Again, as I told you, my mentor and colleague, John Harper. Oh, Bob, I said I knew a little bit about that. You taught overseas, did you not?
I did. I started my career, most of my career was a prosecutor, first in Queens, then in Westchester, focusing on domestic violence, sex crimes, and child abuse. And
We're
then
going to talk about that.
Right, and then in 2005, I spent a year mostly in Beijing, but also in Guangzhou, teaching at two different universities in China. There was a special program that was through a grant with the State Department training Chinese judges and lawyers for legal reform in China. And it was one of the most fascinating experiences of my life. I also got to travel around China, travel around Asia. I even got into North Korea for a few days. It was just a view of a different part of the world than I was ever exposed to over here.
See, this is cruel because if you do that, I'll just worry about my talking to you and forget the audience. Now, I've got to jump right there. What was North Korea like?
It was unlike anything I've ever read about or been to. It was a 4-day experience where I felt like I was inside a cult. Every sign was about Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung, the leader and former leader of North Korea. Every book was either supposedly by them or about them. Everyone who spoke referred to them as the dear leader, the great leader. And these people are just, at least they're acting as if they're enthralled by these two individuals. Some may be doing it out of fear. Some may be doing it because they grow up being told that these are the gods of their society. Everything was couched in how America is keeping them down, how America is stopping them from reuniting with South Korea. I didn't get, unfortunately, to travel there longer than 4 days, but it was...
Where did you stay? How were the accommodations?
It was fine. There was a hotel where foreign guests stay, and it was a very guided tour. It was a lot of propaganda, and I knew that they were talking to us a lot about...
Sounds like a political convention in a country.
It was very different than the political conventions we've seen in the last couple of weeks, but it was fascinating. You're talking to people there who don't have access to the internet, don't have access to any news outside North Korea. All they're told is that Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung are the greatest people in history.
It's incredible.
And every sign, every billboard, every musical song is about revolution or about their country. It doesn't stop. Every building's named after them. The sports complex is called Kim Jong-il Stadium. It just never ends. It's very sad. They were very nice people, though, and I hope one day they have more freedom than they do now.
Did you just tour, or did you do any teaching there?
I did not teach in North Korea. China has opened up and allowed Western teachers to come in and talk to their judges. North Korea is not even close to doing that.
Do they have decent courts in North Korea?
No, it's a completely closed-off society where there's arbitrary decisions. People are arrested, people are killed, people are starved to death. There's a lack of food in some places.
What was the infrastructure like?
In North Korea?
Yes, sir.
A lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of drab old roads with not a lot of cars on them. it's not the vibrant society that you see here, that you see now in China. But when I read about China in the 60s and 70s, it seems a lot like North Korea today. That is really closed off. I heard there were, I think, 2 or 3 Americans in the whole country other than people allowed to come in.
Let's go there now. Let's go to China. It's 8:25. We're talking with Dan Schorr. He's running for the district attorney's office, district attorney position here in Westchester County next year against the incumbent Janet DeFiore. But he has an interesting background, and he's sharing it with us now. Now, in China, you used your, if you will, your legal skills and your prosecutorial skills to train judges. What was that like, and how receptive were they?
It was fascinating because judges there, the judges in my class, were the main class I did of judges. I also did a class of law students, but they were younger judges. They wanted to learn about America. They wanted to learn about our system. We talked about things they don't have in China. China does not have an open legal system. You don't always have an attorney with you. You don't have an open trial. There are some summary judgments where people are convicted and executed even today in China. People are arrested for expressing any discontent, advocating for democracy. So it's not a free society. And I was able to talk to some judges about the ideas we have here, due process, the adversarial system, people having a right to an attorney.
Did they get it? Even though they may not have practiced it, did they get it? Did they appreciate it?
I don't know. They were definitely interested in it, and we had a lot of lively conversations in class. My hope is that these young lawyers and judges one day will be the leaders in China, and some of these ideas may lead to legal reform and openness in China that's not there now. But China has a long way to go. It's not the free country that I hope it is one day.
I mean, I can assume this, but how proficient is your Chinese?
我说的不好.
Good.
That means I don't speak very well.
That's like my Spanish. Muy poco. 8:27 here at 1460 WVOX, 71 degrees under sunny skies. We're talking with Dan Schorr. He's the candidate for district attorney here in New Rochelle. Next year, it's a year away, but we're talking with him about his background. Now, your background, as I take you now back domestically,
right.
Your background as a prosecutor fascinates me. I did a story the other day that broke my heart, and I even did an editorial about it, and it was a woman that had been abused as a child and evolved the classic borderline personality, killed her boyfriend because he was going to move away. You may know about that case.
It was a peak skill.
Yeah. How do you keep from getting cynical and just downtrodden and sad in that kind of work?
You see horrible cases of people hurting other people, but you also, as a prosecutor, you see the best in people because you see people helping out others who are in need. You see people testifying against dangerous people and being brave to lock up and keep other people safe. You really do see the worst in people, but you see the best in people also. And there's a few interesting things about that case that I wanted to mention. One problem in the current DA's office right now is the DA's office is very timid about making their own sentencing recommendations in court. And in that case in particular, the woman pled guilty to manslaughter, and the DA's office did not make a sentence recommendation in terms of number of years. There's a minimum of 5 years, a maximum of 25 years.
She only got 10.
She got 10, and the DA's office said, well, Judge, we ask for substantial state prison or substantially more than the minimum. They used these vague words, and the judge gave 10 years in prison. The family was outraged, and the DA's office actually criticized the judge for the light sentence, and the judge said, well, you had an opportunity to give us a sentence recommendation, and you didn't. And this is widespread now in the DA's office. They are timid. They don't make sentencing recommendations, and my friends in the DA's office, the ADAs, they complain about it. They say that the bosses in the office don't want to take the responsibility. They'd rather have the judges take the responsibility for any criticism.
That's a cop-out.
It's a cop-out, and it's not the fault of the assistant DAs, because my friends are in the DA's office. I work there, and they're frustrated. They want to make the tough stands. That's what the other offices do. That's what offices in New York City, that's what federal prosecutors do. They say, Judge, this person deserves 15 years in prison, 20 years. But this current DA's office, they won't take tough cases, and they won't make specific sentence recommendations on a lot of tough cases.
So what will be, and just a little tease now, we'll have you on again, obviously, as we go in the coming weeks and months. What will be your platform, very briefly, about 30 seconds?
I want to repair the relationship with the police.